Hey, what's going on, everyone? It's Michael, also known as Indolestic. I'm over here at the Vibe Station, build stations over at the Solana Hackathon. Shout out to the super team. We're back with the second episode of the Rhoze Podcast, a podcast to share stories, journeys, and the adventures that we all go through as creatives. I'm your host, and I'm with a special guest. I'd like to say someone that I connected over here and had the privilege to connect, spend some time with the last few months or so. But it's almost felt like 3 months, maybe even more than that. I want to give a shout out to my guy, Ezra, give a little introduction.
Thank you, Michael. Yeah. Hi, I'm Ezra, founder and CEO of Emote AI. We're an AI infrastructure. On the fun side, we're doing a sci-fi TV show and working with Rhozeland on some of the community events that we're doing here in Toronto. More soon to be revealed later
Mhm.
this month.
Yes. There's a lot going on this month. I mean, I think the biggest thing, which will lead way into what we're doing, which is this event that we have, is just all the big, exciting plans for this month because it's been a crazy month. There's so much going on with, like, at least on our end for Roseanne, there's a lot of creative projects, events, and just moments that are just happening right now in the city. And then on the tech and just the whole Solana side, crypto side, there's even more possibilities, right? Tech Week's just around the corner, and I know you're involved in the space. How are you feeling about it all?
Yeah, there's a lot of innovation happening simultaneously. Um, lot of cool people building cool products and services, especially here in Toronto.
Yeah.
Right now, we're both attending in the Solana Hackathon,
Yes.
um, working on our own projects. So for me, it's a KYC biometric verification for humans. Rosalind, do you want to talk more about your platform?
Yeah. Man, it's crazy because we talked about it in the first episode, but now how I'm feeling at this moment, we're trying to break things down. The best one liner I can really give you is a creative ecosystem where people can discover, collaborate, and get rewarded on their ideas. And I like to think that it's this all in one hub. And it's as again a big distribution to what Roseon has as a production studio, right? We're a creative studio. We're making a lot of things in real time, but a lot of artists, in terms of the problem that I find that they're facing, are again funding and marketing. And that's what our solution is with the platform, right? Give us a little bit of a sneak peek about what you're building.
So yeah, for the KYC verification, we have like a live web app demo. We are going to be promoting the technology in for some local events here in Toronto. Uh, in the meantime, we're focusing a lot on the culture side of what we're doing, which is the TV show side of things.
Yeah.
So this is more of us storytelling in our own way about what we as a company had to go through for the past 5 years as a research lab at the beginning. And recently we deployed an API on GCP, Google Cloud, to make it available for any developer, builder, problem solver that's either in the telehealth space, wellness,
Right.
agentic AI, robotics, gaming, um, anything really, name it. But we want to work with positive people too. And so we have a very much strong solar punk brand that we're trying to promote across the sides of actual technology that we're providing and then the cultural side, which is trying to educate the next generation of builders now that anybody can be a builder with vibe coding with cloud
Fact.
code,
Fact.
right, and be a creative simultaneously too. It's just it really it's going to come down to the the fact of like, are you focused on impact or are you trying to help people? Because like building a brand now is what's going to matter. Why people will trust your products or services
Right.
versus your competitors. So you know um what me and Rhozeland are working together now on is like helping build that community here
Right,
out.
right.
You know, whether people are creative, technical, business, or in the influence space, I think there's a lot of value synergizing with these communities and then enhancing them in however we can give them tools, which is what we both have, right?
Yes,
We have
yes.
these ways in which to improve and make these, supercharge these teams here in Toronto.
For real, honestly, just at least for me, I want to ask personally because I feel like we've been hanging with each other, we've been talking, but I think it's been a while since we've personally had like a question about how you're feeling with where you want to take things. I know we have the event and stuff, but everything you just described is maybe for a lot of people watching might be really overwhelming. And I guess I'm just kind of curious to know for the audience, I mean, like, where do you want to focus things with emotes and just the whole company?
Yeah. Really try to unify the two aspects of what we're doing to like one brand identity, almost like a technical church where
Mm.
the first primary layer is the belief system. Belief system is like,
Believe.
yeah, um,
All you got to do is
it
just
yeah,
believe.
privacy and transparency for the end users to actually
Yeah.
like feel like they can trust that their data is secure and federated, which is should be the common standard. And then above that, then is access to this layer of technology. So this is where the TV show becomes a fun way to like story tell in a different way because I haven't seen any other AI company do it yet. I myself prior had a video game company before this, and so I know a little bit more about branding to the next generation. In this case, this if we intend to be around for the next 10, 20, 40 years, we got to think long term in terms of how we want to brand ourselves and separate ourselves from
Yeah.
everybody. So doing a sci-fi live action TV show is a fun way to do it. And yeah, it's a lot of work, but it's we're grateful to have like an actual team, full casted actors here in Toronto, director, writers, and production people, producers like myself.
Well, one thing I'd love to touch upon is this idea of branding, right?
Mhm.
Like we're, in my opinion, always reinventing ourselves. Like the biggest thing I'm wondering is, do you like the current brand of emotes and everything? And how would you describe that journey from where it's come from?
Oh yeah, because at the beginning we were more on the research side of things. Um, Even though I did come from a creative space myself, I just couldn't find the way to integrate that until much later on, years later, once we had developed past the beta side of things with our
Yeah,
development.
yeah,
I then realized I have a story to tell about the things we had to go through as a company, the highs and lows, our own hero's journey as a team, surviving COVID during our R&D process. So that was pretty wild. When we first started, that's when COVID hit like a year later for us. And then we realized our impact opportunity was much larger than we realized because of things like COVID and how that forced us to spend more time online for as we were isolated. And we don't think about it as much now, the
yeah.
after effects, but I think it has ripple effects as to these new markets that open up that are that we can address with our core technology. But now we realize the bigger picture of impact with our side of things. Now that we're in market, it's deployed now,
Mhm.
so it's no longer theory. It works, and it's great. It's like we're almost like the opposite version of Black Mirror. In the right hands, that's where we actually can mean what we say about a solar punk culture, which is something we have
Right,
arrived at
right.
as to where we want to move forward as a direction is really push that term and just own that basically across the spectrum. Like, and not just be um, talk about it on just a high level with the creative stuff, but actually apply it in real life with the real technology and giving people metaphorically, literally hope and faith
Yeah.
that there's a better way. It doesn't have to be the way that's right now, which I would agree with most people is we sort of live in a dystopian sort of cyberpunk era
It's
now.
like, yeah, it's like some slob,
Yeah,
right? Like,
yeah.
yeah, this,
There's like
yeah.
no regulation, no insight, no safety layer, nothing. And I feel really bad right now for like the next generation. They're so uh, it's like the Wild
They're
West right now.
cooked.
Yeah. And I think you can speak more about that yourself. Actually, your background in education and what you've seen anecdotally with the people you deal with and how they interact with these new technologies and what that does to their neuroplasticity.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't want to sound like a whippersnapper, but growing up, definitely we weren't using AI. I think the closest AI I remember, and I actually don't even know if you know this, was um, there have been so many different messaging platforms, right? Like I remember there was BlackBerry and MSN, right? And specifically on MSN, there was actually an AI chatbot called Smarter Child. So that was like the first time I was interacting with AI. And like when you talk to it, it would give you different responses
Mm.
to a certain degree. It was still kind of like predetermined, but it was definitely like my first taste on that. But it's not like how it was like now, right? Like it's super extreme to the point where it's almost like mass production. The industrialization of AI is like the time we're living in right now, if you can argue. But with the students, I mean, I see it where students are just it's almost like their free will resides with the AI. Like it's kind of crazy like that. It's kind of crazy in the sense where like um I remember I almost feel like I failed myself as a teacher because like I'm doing English and I'm doing like ESL kids and like I gave them in the essay a crazy philosophical movie quote. They were talking about like um what's the more universal human characteristic, fear or laziness? It's deep, deep. Like even the person's talking about is like, oh, we're not as advanced as we really think we are. Like the Greeks were just as advanced, like at least in terms of their theory and just how they went about I guess the quality of life. Um, Again, that's an argument for another day. But what was interesting was obviously like those are the type of questions I want them to kind of think about, and hopefully that applies some critical thinking. And I don't think it's too crazy either, right? You get them to do an essay, talk about which one they agree with more, whatever the case is. One of the kids was literally like, "Yo, what's human mean?" I'm
Mhm.
like, yo, I almost feel like I failed myself. I was like, yo, we went through like a whole, and like if you can't even put that together, then you can't grasp the fear or the laziness to a certain degree, right?
It's-
Obviously knows what that is because that's just not his main language. But again, I think there's benefits. It can help translate or make understanding easier, but then relying on it, we all know this critical thinking, it's just not the best. But what do you think about it all personally?
yeah, I mean, I take value out of your perspective because like you're in the front line seeing these things. The closest thing I've seen in my experience was in esports with these young esport athletes spending 12, 16 hours a day online practicing, competing, what that does to their mental health.
Mm,
Every single one of them that I've dealt with or talked to were on pharmaceutical drugs, illegal drugs, both
yeah.
high burnout, and in some worst cases like suicide. Back even before COVID, it was horrible. Um, I can only imagine what it's like now, but I think there's better and healthier ways to regulate industries like that. But I think that's what got me to get back into like core infrastructure myself,
Mm,
and working with like really good, talented people in the space that also care about addressing this problem. But we got to start from somewhere, which is like measuring the truth as to what's really going on, especially with like the students that you deal with. Like, I think there's data available, but in the right hands, it could like help prevent a lot of this cognitive decline that we're seeing across the board, and how it's manifesting in different ways. And we factor things like COVID too, isolation, what that does to somebody when they spend more time online. Yeah. But yeah.
I mean, one thing it just makes me resonate with is just this idea of solar punk. And again, I'm really interested in just the overall topic we were talking about with branding. And I'm sure a lot of people watching are trying to reinvent themselves or figure out their brand. How do you feel about how the idea of solar punk resonates, such as what you're talking about, and then resonates to where the company's at right now? Because again, you started as a research company, right? And now what you're at this solar punk era. Tell me about
Yeah, 100%.
it.
Yeah, so solar punk by definition is like positive technology for good. So now that our API is live and it's real, we have to make sure it's in the right hands. So we're providing the API access keys to different startups, enterprise, even like large scale B2B plays that we're doing right now,
Uh-huh.
and just setting up multiple pilots this year. That's kind of the focus with a handful of different companies who want to implement and integrate our technology to address certain key issues in their industries. And so they'll range from agentic AI to telehealth to robotics to public safety. And we're going to start creating reports and studies and research with our in residence neuroscientists to start creating white paper research reports as to sort of the impacts we're observing across these sectors. The long term goal is to make a regulation play with the Canadian government here. But we got to provide the facts, the reports, the insights, and the research behind what we're trying to measure, which is cognition.
There's a lot to do.
A lot to do. Yeah, a lot of work. Yes.
Well, it leads me to even say, like, how do you find just managing the different brands within Emote? Because you're talking about the TV show, and I think that people need to know about that. And I would imagine that all the actors, the talent, the actresses, everyone, right? They all got their own brand and talents and stuff, and like you're here just trying to, figure it all out. Like,
Yeah.
what do you
So
want to say about
100%. Like the TV show is like our version of our marketing arm or agency part of the company,
it? Hmm.
right? I think it's we put it under like experimental marketing in our department. But it is the biggest team that we have. It's like 35 people right now.
Huge.
But it's the benefit of being in Toronto. There's so much creative people here and talent.
Mhm.
For me, I've learned what it means to like build a multidisciplinary pool of talent, from technical to business to creative, and that took years to like
Yeah.
hone in and curate the people I want to work with and help build their brands and careers, depending on what people are motivated by and if we share a common vision or passion, whether it's on the technical side or on the creative side. And then, taking that leap of faith to like work with them on whatever skills that they can deploy themselves and to add value to, and for our organization. But yeah, the actors took some time. I think it took me 2 years to like curate up until now.
Wow.
And then lately it's been just steamrolling now because now we've locked in the official main cast now. Um, we're entering pre-production right now for the summer, and we're aiming for post-production stuff in the fall, and releasing the first episode pilot later on this year.
It sounds exciting.
Yeah, but a lot of work, a lot of coordination, a lot of team effort.
Uh-huh.
I can't do this by myself.
For
Obviously,
sure.
it's a group effort.
Shout out to the team.
Yeah. Shout out to the team. It's a group effort, and I think what keeps it going is constant communication
Yes.
and the motivation behind the impact that we're going to see culturally with the TV show. And then for the technical side, the technical impact. But I'm very excited about what we're doing for the TV show, and then what we're doing for community building and what we envision what that to look like. In terms of aesthetics, it's very similar to what we have here, like plants and lighting, things to bring positive imagery towards this curated brand of solar punk, and finding synergy with other brands. What Roseland's doing with in their space, and then what Emo's trying to do with our impact. But meaning what we say, meaning there's a real technology behind these things, and then the solar punk is that common unification brand. And what no better way to story tell and brand it through a sci-fi TV show.
Facts,
Yeah,
man. I mean, again, for the audience that doesn't know too much, tell them about the TV show. Like,
fair
what
enough.
is it about, the synopsis, and what would they expect just tuning on in?
For sure. So it takes place in the virtual world. Um, there's 6 different colors to represent 6 different factions, 6 different belief systems. Red represents evil agentic AI. Um, you have purple are the social media influencers and creative space. They're sort of like the aristocrats that live with the red faction in the internet city, as it were, in the show. Got the yellow faction, which represents the crypto community. They're like mercenaries. They're like a morally gray faction. Then you've got the green faction, which represents defensive programs like Norton antivirus, things like that. Um, then you got blue and orange, who are part of the same faction group. Orange is the our company colors, so all the monks that wearing orange robes, those are like the data scientists training a new generation of AI, which is the blue faction, which represents the main protagonist, which her name's Hope, and her older sister Faith represent the alpha and beta version of our AI. And eventually, they do like unify and then become the main character. But the first episode is more about them individually and all the mentors and antagonists for the first episode, and what's going to basically play out for the rest of this first season. It will most likely be like a 8 episode for the first season, and
And when should viewers be expecting like that release?
later on, late this year.
Right.
Yeah, for the first episode pilot. Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah,
Well, it's cool because again, like Ezra and I really got to do a lot of connecting, and it's awesome just within the brief time that we've been able to just create so much moments. And that being said, one of the big moments that we had together was this event over at the former Rhozeland studio, which is leading to the new event. And it's essentially kind of just perfect timing coming into this month, the podcast, the marketing, and also just as again, like him working on this pilot show, everything is to go within the release of that. So the event, it's coming up. Emote Temple.
yep.
What
2.0.
what do you want to say about it?
It's gonna be it's
It's
gonna
gonna be
be
a blast, fam.
yeah, it's gonna be a whole big event for. I think we're hosting about at around 300. We're trying to aim for that.
It's trying to shoot for the stars,
Yeah,
man.
yeah,
Not land on the clouds, land on the
yeah,
moon.
yeah. A tech rave, um, community screening party event. We're gonna show some of the short trailer film to the audience, introduce the characters, some of the world building. The whole space will be like an immersive, interactive experience, promoting as well as what Roseland is doing in the real world. We're also branding them into the TV show as well. So they're their own faction, they're a group of people in the yellow faction space, but they have their own island called Roseland. Um, in this world that we're building, so it's this unified cinematic universe for technical brands that are making positive impacts. So Roseland's like the first one of the first few that's now part of the this experimental advertising platform that we're putting together.
Yeah, it's super interesting. And again, just super open to just being a part of this whole experiential experience. Again, for anyone that gets to tune on in, now you know, right? The Roselanders, Roseland, come join through with their island. About the event though, I mean, how are you finding it, man? Like we gotta kind of grind it on out next few weeks, just really pushing it out. Anything you think people should be expecting? I mean, how are you finding just like the final push that we just
Yeah,
gotta really make through?
yeah, we're it's likely going to be like a ticketed event. We're trying our best to see what we can do to further enhance the experience right now. What we found with this upcoming location, we'll announce soon. I think we like the venue setup. We
I
are
do like it, yeah.
yeah we're gonna lock down to a final decision soon, but we want it to be a really impactful event, like do it way bigger. And we learned a lot in the last event too. And the last event was great. Even the fact that it happened way earlier this year. Like now the weather is getting way better now. Doing a larger venue space is great, and a place that's built for lighting and having that immersive experience. Uh, we are going to have to bring in two DJs at least to make this a cool experience. So
Yeah,
we're in the process of scouting for that, which is good.
that's where we're at.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know you and Emma like were in earlier, just doing some work. Planning's going good, right? You're like in the process.
Yeah, it's great, and right now we're doing more collaborations behind the scenes as well to get more support, so that we can make this like the biggest event that we can do, and just keep improving event after event, and work with more partners as well on supporting us on this journey on promoting positive technology
Yes.
and this community that we're building. Obviously, we have our own stuff we're pushing as well on, giving people these tools and systems to come together and build together. Um, that's like the common theme that we have, and obviously, we want to drive like a lot of more numbers this time. And it looks like we can probably even do 10x what we intended to do last time, which is pretty crazy in time for tech week, uh,
Exactly.
which is great. We want to obviously maximize on all the people that are coming from
Yes.
overseas and stuff
Yes.
all over the world for that week. So that's really good timing that we decided to push it to that week now as our priority. But yeah, soon we're going to have to get big on the cross promoting branding side of things. And yeah, more details to follow, I guess, on that.
Yeah, which leads to probably a big transition I want to come into with the pod. And again, a lot of Ezra's story talks about just what we're building, but I'm curious to know a big part of what we're talking about with Rose and just the theme of what we're doing is talking about overcoming struggle and just overcoming difficulty. Rose, we rose together. I'm curious to know just a time that you felt with emote where there was just some, at least what I'd like to say, collapse or some sort of nearing that you felt maybe could have ended this journey or may have stopped or prevented the growth that you have right now. What was that? And again, like, what did you do to just overcome that? Right. And was this just yourself, a team effort? I don't know. Do you have anything for us?
Yeah, no, there's been fires and big fires, small fires, but I can name a whole bunch of near death experiences over the years. It teaches you a thing about resiliency, humbleness,
Mhm.
learning to be a good communicator,
Yes.
taking responsibility,
Mhm.
and working with people that are also as empathetic as you can be as well. And just understanding that every problem is an objective to be solved,
Mhm.
and just taking it one step at a time or one day at a time, small steps. I've seen instances when people burnt out, or systems have failed, or there's been some type of system wide issue where we had to like grind it out, or a shortage of manpower, during the COVID days, and learning to navigate around that. I think what really saved us was maintaining our ability to communicate without taking things personally. Just understanding that for the core team, we have a vested interest in the success of the company, and understanding that if we just understand that 90% of all the conflicts we'll ever experience in business is due to miscommunication or the lack of communicating. It's very rarely that it's malevolent, and that's like the 10%. You can usually pick that out in the first, in the short term. So it's how I tend to avoid or not want to work with people that that may be toxic or um, inconducive to team cohesion, and team dynamic is everything, right? You get one toxic person, like ruin everybody's mental health. Mental health now, I think, has gotten to the priority of everybody that works in a startup company. Is understanding that we're all human. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to be slower, and things are going to cost way more than what we expect. So it's not really people. If you think about it, that our problem, it's our expectations. We've learned to manage our own expectations. You'll be less anxious, you'll be less disappointed, you'll be less burned out, you'll be less, yeah, you'll be learn to become more zen and just go with the flow. And when you go with the flow and just learn to ride the waves, the highs and lows, and get into that zone of just reminding yourself of the why am I doing this to begin with. And if it's more than money, then you'll probably overcome these issues. And it's like usually a 2 to 7 year hump before you start seeing the effects
Mhm.
of of the seeds you've been planting seasons prior. And it's the long term game. People are like think that these things to build anything real, like it takes time.
It
And
does.
yeah, and you need that patience, you need that motivation, and you need to found other people to motivate you can communicate and motivate with. Like for me, like it's been like I've known my CTO for like at least 6 years, and now like we earned that trust working together from inception back in my research time, but now him working full time with me now. Now that we're deployed, it's great. And we're all hands on deck right now, my core team, and then the TV show, the production, the director. I made him the lead of it, and then it's a great, phenomenal team of talented people that
Yeah.
love storytelling,
Yeah.
and we have an original story to tell too. So I think people are going to relate to it. It's more about, in a nutshell, like our startup development journey, done explained more creatively than usual. So I think that that's what's makes it fun and start selling hope and positive energy around technology in the right hands can actually make the impact that we're all looking for. And knowing the state of the current world now and where it's headed now, I think now's the time to like aggressively connect and synergize and find ways to make massive impact together in our own ways in which where we can add value to each other.
I mean, it's a lot of insight, and it just really makes me think about just the world, right? Like the world is a really we're living in an interesting time for sure. At least how you're finding the m- the the market, let's say, quote unquote, with Toronto, everything going on, creative, tech, AI, everything. Do you like it? How do you find the pace? Like, do you like where things are going? Do you think it's not not where the city should be at? There should just be another focus.
Well, I see a lot of like gaps across, like if we're talking about like in like enterprise level institutions. For individuals, I think a lot of individuals are training themselves on these tools. So
Mhm.
it's I see a lot of grassroots um, systems come into play now, which I find interesting. That give me hope that where there's a will, there's a way sort of situation. As long as you have the internet or a laptop now and a Netflix subscription,
Yeah,
yeah,
that's all you
or
need.
the
Just
budget of a Netflix
stay
subscription.
comfortable.
Yeah, you can. You can. I think it's what's people are lacking though is the realization is that you can, as far as Toronto's concerned, you can build everything here. You can build your whole team here and high quality people too.
Yeah,
It's like our superpower.
yeah.
It's in spite of what's how the stuff Torontonians have to go through, and you know
Well,
all the
well,
shortcomings of.
it makes me want to segue over. I'm curious to know how you find the connection between these different brands and these people that are just building, especially um, again, from what I understand, you've been around the block. Like you've been to these events. Um, Again, this isn't your first rodeo in a company. Tell me a little bit more about your thoughts with how people are connected in the city. They even say, at least in the music and artistic industry, Toronto used to go with the idea was the screw face capital. So screw face, as in, I guess it would like they'd screw you over. Like people don't really rep you, and you've heard maybe these stories from Canadian musicians where they would talk about you um, going to America to really make it before the Canadian fans really like you first. Like you have to kind of go over there and then come back, or this idea of getting education or growing up here, but then leaving to live in another place like America or a place with more money. Um, and people are kind of, again, going back to this idea of a screw face capital. Do you find that's the case still in the city? What about in the space currently?
I mean, I can speak to you about my experience in the gaming sector or in the business tech space. I mean, short answer, yeah, like a lot of my colleagues have since left over and jumped ship to the States to either raise capital or expand for their go to market strategies. There's a very little incentive for investors to like really expand here in Ontario. So it's really, I see a lot of mass extraction of talent and IP leaving. It's a problem even in startups here that are having to compete with talent leaving here and having to compete with salaries being offered overseas or down south of us. So it's a challenge. Thankfully, though, we have uh, places here in Toronto, Waterloo, Kitchener, Guelph,
Yeah.
but unfortunately, we're fighting an uphill battle. But the best teams I've seen came from here. Until I see new policy to change
Yeah.
influence, I don't I have very I'm not as optimistic as I'd like to be.
I mean, yeah. But that's why we're here, right? I find that what you and I are doing is synchronizing, just really
Yeah,
trying to make a difference. And
yeah,
it starts with what we know and it starts with ourselves first, right? Michael Jackson, Man in the Mirror. That being said, I think what is really interesting about the city now is, um, I think we're going through a big transition, a big change in how culture is evolving, especially with like etiquette or connections within artists or businesses. But even too, like now, all these different industries are merging and clashing together. I think it's just becoming more apparent. Um, and I think it just goes about um, being ahead of the game and knowing where it's going and positioning yourselves. And I think what you and I are doing is that, especially with the Emote Temple 2.0. And again, what you're building, what Roseland's building, anything you want to give to the audience, just maybe before we like time on out.
um, yeah. We're gonna make more announcements in the next coming days. We are excited to tell the world more about Emote 2.0 and but expect a larger community around solar punk. This is sort of like the theme we're going to be promoting more here in Toronto for this year, and we will be releasing more content around what you'll expect to see at the events and sort of the music that genre we're trying to push towards in
Mhm.
space. I know Roseland's going to have their own special debut as well there, showing what they've got, what
Yes.
they want to release to the world too. So
Yes.
it's going to be a celebration of the existence of positive technologies, not just ourselves, but Roseland as well. And having letting people connect and well, with us behind the scenes as well with how we can support them. So yeah, I'm just super excited for what's to come, and yeah, it's gonna be a great summer for everybody here.
Yes, exactly. So thanks a lot, everyone, for tuning on into Rose episode 2 or 2.0. We'll catch you out. We'll catch you in the next episode. See you later. It's Endolestic. I'm timing on out. Peace.
Cheers.